Hi, I'm Suze Shaner, and I'm your host today of Community Forum. And I have the great pleasure to have with me Bella Brodsky, who is the creator of Sage, an online zine. Welcome, Bella.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Great to have you on the show. So tell our audience, first of all, what a zine is, for those who aren't familiar with it.
Yeah, so a zine is pretty much the same thing as a magazine, just on a smaller scale. So it's self-published and locally circulated.
That's great. So Sage, of course, I love the name. That's the name of my business too. So, but just to let our viewers know, It's focused on creative expression, sustainable living, and environmentalism.
Yeah.
So now you started this when you were a sophomore in high school. Mm-hmm. So how did you come up with the idea for it?
Yeah, so I guess the idea began, I wanted to immerse myself in some sort of creative project. And during this time, I had been meeting a lot of really cool business owners and artists, and they were inspiring me a lot, and I wanted to create a platform so that I could kind of share their stories and share that inspiration that I was feeling with other people. So that was kind of how it began, and then it's evolved since then into more of a sustainability-focused magazine.
So interesting. And I think, did you tell me, were you homeschooled too?
Yeah.
So you had plenty of opportunity to kind of create your own curriculum.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And now you're almost 1 year post-graduation,
Yeah,
right?
so I graduated in June, and I'm taking a gap year right now. Then I plan to attend college in the fall of 2020.
So what made you decide to take a gap year?
Yeah, so I actually graduated high school a year early, and so I was really young, and I wanted a chance to pursue things like this, like Sage, get a chance to work and kind of just relax before I started college.
So you graduated a year early, so this is what being homeschooled does for you, right?
Yeah,
you were able to
exactly.
kind of accelerate and go at your own pace?
Yeah.
Wow, good for you.
Thank you.
So were you homeschooled the whole time?
So I was homeschooled for high school, and it was a homeschool community, so it was set up like a school, and I went and took classes, and I have a official transcript and a high school diploma, but it was very flexible, and I could kind of plan my own classes, and yeah.
So did you go to regular public school when you were before high school?
No, I've been to a bunch of different alternative education. So I went to Montessori school for middle school. I went to public school for first and second, and then I was homeschooled in between the two.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So you must have a lot to say around education.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
That could be that. Maybe we'll have that could be a whole other show.
Yeah.
But let's talk about your zine.
Yeah.
So let's see. You've probably had it now for 3 years, 2 or 3 years.
It's been about 2 years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got inspired by entrepreneurs, and specifically you focused on creative expressions. But you're saying now you want to focus more on sustainability. So what does that mean for you?
Yeah. So when I created the magazine and when I first put out the first issue, I realized I had this platform, I had a vehicle, and I could I wanted to focus it more on sustainability because that's something I'm really passionate about, and I realized that I had an audience. People were reading it, and so I wanted to focus it more on something like these ideas of importance, social and environmental concepts. So I decided to shift it more towards that since it's something I'm passionate about.
So interesting. So in launching your website, so did you create the whole thing yourself?
Yeah.
Taught yourself what? I don't even know what platform you're using.
Yeah, so I actually print the magazine. It's in a hard copy, and that's how it's mostly distributed, and that's the main kind of magazine. It is online, but it's primarily in print.
But so you taught yourself the website platform that you're using, and did you also teach yourself the typesetting and all of that? Everything?
Yeah. So it's been a very big learning process because I've had to kind of learn as I go and learn all these steps in terms of graphic design and marketing, distributing, printing, all of that. But yeah, I've really enjoyed it. It's been fun.
So how did you determine who's your target audience?
Yeah, so that's a good question.
Yeah.
I created it with the intention of anyone and everyone reading it. It's really just for anyone that's open-minded and open-hearted to listen and look at the features.
Yeah, you mentioned that on your website for the open-hearted and open-minded.
Yeah.
So it was first called First Film.
The film role.
The film role. Mm-hmm. So why that name? Why did you decide to change it?
Yeah, so it's been a lot of growing and evolving, the magazine, and it kind of started more, as I said, just a way to kind of like show people that I was meeting that I thought were really inspiring. And then I kind of wanted to shift it. Sage is my middle name, and something that was, I don't know, it was more meaningful, and it kind of just, I liked it, so. Yeah, I wanted to go with it.
Well, it means the wise one. But
Yeah.
So you say that it's focused on creative expression, sustainable living, and environmentalism. Sustainable living and environmentalism seem like they kind of go. Creative expression.
Yeah, so they all kind of fit together within the content of the magazine. It's kind of either one or the other, kind of the intersection between them. So all of the content is either about creativity or sustainability, or kind of like a combination.
Yeah, it seems like you focus on some artists. Like I was reading, today, Liam, you interviewed him, and his photography, kind of interesting. It seems like it's focused mostly on people of like your generation, like people young up and coming, trying to forge their businesses and kind of find their way.
Yeah, so the first issue was definitely a lot of like younger people, but this new issue that's coming out soon is more, I wouldn't say it's necessarily I stick with a certain generation. It's kind of anyone that has a business or is an artist, creator.
So then how do you find people? How do you find people that you want to feature?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of different ways. I connect with people either by meeting them in person or paths cross in some sort of way. Sometimes people will refer people to me and be like, hey, there's this really cool sustainable artist or creator, business owner that you should feature. And it happens in that way. Sometimes I'll connect with them through email. They'll email me like talking about their business. So it's a bunch of different ways.
Yeah, well, I mean, I ran into you and your family at the Kirtan, let people know, where they're singing and all of that. That's how I met you.
Yeah.
So your intention is to highlight creative types. Now you call yourself a creator.
Yeah.
So meaning clearly the creator of the magazine, but also in the digital age, there's people always wanting content and people who call themselves the creators or the creative class. So what would you say about that?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I am the creator, and that's kind of the title I've chosen just because I'm the sole person behind Sage Magazine. But that being said, there are so many other people that help me and support me, and I really recognize that, and it's really important to me. But yeah. So
you started it up and you funded it yourself. Now, what's your vision for ongoing funding to kind of keep it going?
Yeah, so right now it's mostly funded by advertisements. Local businesses will advertise, and that's usually how I print and distribute. In the future, I'm considering having the copies for sale, but I'm
the hard copies.
Yeah, the hard copies for sale. Right now, they're just free because I'm trying to get my name out there. But in the future, we'll see. I'm not sure yet.
So you have advertisers in the hard. I haven't seen the hard copy. I've only seen the digital version, but I didn't really see any ads in the digital version.
Yeah, there are a few.
Okay, I must have missed those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so that's a good funding mechanism.
Yeah, for sure.
And so how did you go about deciding? You knew you wanted to have a digital platform and also hard copies. How did you go about thinking about distribution of the hard copies?
Yeah, so I am really fortunate. The place I went to high school, the homeschooling community, was set in a really nice town that I connected with a lot of really cool business owners, and they were so supportive, and they initially were like, yeah, of course, you can put your magazine out. So that's initially how I kind of got it into a few local stores.
Stores and coffee shops?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Okay.
And then from now, I kind of just email. Some places will reach out and be like, hey, we'd love to stock Sage. So either I'll reach out or reach out to me.
Great.
Yeah.
Because there's local things like Natural Awakenings, things like that, which is a little bit different than your bent on it. Because once you're getting into like printing a hard copy, then that gets into printing costs, which can kind of, I mean, how do you know how many to print up?
Yeah, so it's a good question. I usually just print up like a set amount, and then I'll send a few to stores depending on how many I have, or I'll send them to people if they request them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're really kind of experimenting with this.
Yeah,
right?
It's definitely a work in progress. Considering that I'm 17, I haven't taken classes in like graphic design or marketing. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I kind of have to learn as I go, but I really love that. I love learning and I love this kind of process.
And so, because right now you have a whole other full-time or part-time job, right?
Yeah, full-time, yeah.
Full-time, so you're just kind of doing this on the side.
Yeah.
So, how fun has it been?
I love it, and that's the reason I do it, honestly, is like because it's fun, and I love it. It's my passion, so yeah.
So you're interviewing people. I know you interview people for your magazine, because we were talking about that in terms of what questions you ask people and how do you, right?
Yeah.
So how do you decide who you're going to interview and who you're going to focus in on?
Yeah, I tend to find local businesses. That's kind of like my main focus, is finding people that are local to me, because I really try and kind of focus on like community and that kind of aspect, because I think that's really important. So I find people that are local to me, local artists, local business owners, and then I try and find people that are kind of environmentally conscious or sustainability focused in some sort of a way.
Yeah, so what's your thoughts around sustainability and kind of where you want to hone in on with Sage around that? Because you said, okay, I've got creative expression, I've got environmentalism, but kind of the core of it is this notion of sustainability.
Yeah, so sustainability is something that I'm really passionate about and something that I think is really important. And so I wanted to include it in Sage because I think it's something that I think people should know about. And so I've grown up in a very environmentally conscious family. We've always composted, bought locally, shopped locally. And so I've always kind of had this awareness of the natural world around me. I've always been very like connected to the natural world. And so I think it's really important, and I wanted to kind of educate people and share my thoughts on sustainability and feature people that had different perspectives on sustainability, because it's a very big topic, obviously.
Right,
and there's so many different ways you can go about it, different views in terms of like business or the more like political side of it. So
yeah,
I try and do like all different aspects just as a way to like educate people and spread awareness. I think that's one of the most important things, is to have conversations about sustainability, spread awareness, educate yourself. Yeah.
So how did you said basically how you first learned about it was, I just grew up, it was sort of all around me. I grew up in a very environmentally conscious family. So it's like you've always kind of lived that way. It sounds like it's part of your lifestyle. So in terms of some of the other aspects to it, because there's, you know, whether it's business, whether it's building, architecture, recycling, kind of what do you feel like you know the most about that you want to share with people around sustainability?
So I'm obviously still learning. I think the thing that I suppose I know most about is kind of how to implement it into your daily life and like more the individual action side of it. But I'm trying recently, I've been learning a lot more about the political side of it and the broad systematic kind of perspective on it, which I find really interesting. So I've been kind of like gearing my knowledge towards that more.
Well, that's interesting. So let's talk about both of them in order. So in terms of individual, what are some tips or maybe ways that you kind of live your life that you could give people in terms of what they can do to live a more sustainable life?
Yeah, so there's many things. I think the first one is just being aware and being like a conscious consumer. I think that's one of the biggest things, is to like know what you're buying, know what your money is supporting, know what like companies you're supporting by buying their products, and whether they're sustainable or whether they match your values. So just kind of being aware of that. Buying locally obviously is important. And then I think, there's obviously, you can bring your reusable bags, bring your reusable straws, be aware of like your packaging and plastic use. And then I think one of the bigger things that's more on the political side is using your voice and voting and trying to fight for like systematic change, because I think that's something that's really big that can create a really big impact on our world. and having conversations with people and just like talking to your friends about sustainability, educating them, giving them books to read or documentaries to watch. I think all of that is
Do you have any
important.
documentaries you've recommend?
Yes.
Okay.
I love the Game Changers. It's about the meat industry. That's really interesting. There's one of my favorites. It's called The True Cost, and it's about the fast fashion industry and how detrimental clothing is to our earth.
Yeah.
Those are two of my favorites, yeah.
That just came up to me recently. Like
Yeah.
it's something that seems so obvious, like a duh, but I never really realized it. I mean, I'm not one that, you know, I'm not a big shopper, and I'm not one that like every season has to have a new wardrobe. But it's really interesting around, you know, shopping at thrift stores or, you know, stuff where that you're not contributing to, you know, manufacturing more and more new clothes.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, other things like, I guess, so like I have bamboo silverware that's in a little packet that I just keep in my purse, so I don't have to, you know, if you buy, right?
Yeah.
So I don't have to use all the plastic. I now have like a metal straw, so I carry that in my purse.
Yeah.
You know, little things like that. I mean, obviously we're all trying to do away with plastic.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and I think that's really important. I think a lot of people think, oh, just I'm the only one using a straw, but it creates a big impact, especially if you're in a community and people see that, they might get inspired by you, or you never know. So
well, it's
important.
interesting because I was working for the last couple of years with folks where I was traveling every week. So I was living out of hotels, and so you'd have to get lunch every day, and my coworkers thought I was a little bit nuts when I was like, no, I got my bamboo. I'm not, you know, how many, you know, it does add up.
Yeah,
I'm like, I got my bamboo. I'm good.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Okay, so now, so that's the individual. In terms of the political system, so you're saying, yeah, this is part of a more systemic issue. So you're studying up now in politics.
Yeah.
Are you going to be old enough to vote in this upcoming election?
am.
All right,
Yeah.
this will be your first election.
I know, I'm so excited.
Great.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you're learning about from a systemic perspective?
Yeah, so, well, for one, I realized that voting is so incredibly important, and I don't think a lot of people know that. I've actually been talking to a lot of people my age that are like, I'm not gonna vote, I don't need to vote, and I've been talking to them and being like, you don't realize your impact, like this can make a huge difference. Educating yourself and learning that like, these candidates could make huge impacts on our earth just by creating laws and like restricting corporations from creating such detrimental impact on our earth. And yeah, as far as a political perspective, I think fighting for bigger changes, like going to like marches and like protests, I think are really important. And kind of like talking to politicians and educating yourself and kind of being involved.
So you're excited about being able to vote in this first election, and you definitely will.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, I was saying to somebody last week that that's how I raised my daughter. I told her, you know, it's your right, don't take it lightly.
Yeah.
We're lucky we have the right to vote. So since she was a toddler, I'd actually bring her in the voting booth with me. Even since she was little, she'd get the little stickers, and so she just grew up kind of like every local opportunity to vote, I would always vote, as well as, of course, nationally.
It's important. It really is.
It is. So that's great. So you're talking to your peers to say, listen, try to get them to vote. I mean, we need, this is going to, who knows which way it's going to go this year, but we need everyone out there.
Yeah, and even like local, I think like if you, I don't know, I think in all voting, you can really make a difference. And yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I'm glad to hear you say that. So you're very optimistic about it. I mean, what would you say to folks to say, it's a sham? Does it really make a difference? Does my one vote really make a difference?
Yeah, and see, that's with anything. When people like with individual action, they're like, oh, this one straw isn't going to make a difference. But I don't know if it's going to make a difference. But what I say is, it doesn't hurt. Like, there's no harm in doing it. So why not try? Yeah. And like, we're all living on this planet. We all, I think, should be responsible. So I think taking that responsibility is a big step.
Yeah. So so you're about to come out with your next issue of Sage. How many issues have you had? Is this, I know you have at least one issue under the name Sage.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've had others under the previous name.
Yeah, so there's one under the previous name, and then there's one Sage issue that came out last year, and then the second one is coming out soon, and they're coming out a little bit closer together now that I'm like on a gap year and can produce them a little bit quicker. Yeah.
Okay. So when you were in school, it really it was like one a year kind of thing?
Exactly. Especially because I was learning as I was going, so it took a little bit longer.
So it was really a learning project initially.
Yeah.
So what were some of your learnings initially, and has that changed in terms of like how you're learning and growing with it?
Yeah, so initially I had to like literally learn everything from like the base level, like how do you even put together, like what program to use, how to even get the name out there, how do you make a website, like, all of that was from a very like starting point. And so now that I kind of know how to create it, how to plan, how to take photographs easier, how to conduct interviews, I have more of like a system now that I can follow.
Okay, so let's take those pieces apart. So in terms of taking photos, how do you take them? Do you take them with your iPhone? How do you take them?
So actually photography is the biggest thing. That's one of the reasons I started it, is because I love photography, and it's always been one of my like biggest passions since I was like pretty little. And so I have like a digital camera that I use for that. And
so not your iPhone, you have a digital camera that you just uploaded. Okay, great.
And even with photography, I've learned a lot about portraiture from the beginning. Even though I was already into photography, I've already like learned a lot more.
So being homeschooled, you taught yourself a lot?
Yeah, I did actually take one photography class, but I did also take, like, I would watch YouTube tutorials and kind of like learn as I went.
Okay, so you're really a self-motivated learner. Okay, so that's the photos. Then you said the interviews. Did you teach yourself? How did you know how to conduct the interviews?
Oh my goodness. So interviews is like the biggest thing that I'm like most uncomfortable with, but I've learned like the most about. I initially didn't do it in person. I would like send them a document and they would fill it out and then they would send it back to me.
So you didn't want to talk to them?
Yeah, I was like not sure about
it. Were you like shy or what?
I don't know. I just like, I don't know. I was very nervous about it. But then this year, finally, I started doing them, and I love it. It's like one of my favorite parts.
So do you actually just talk to them on the phone, or do you meet them in person?
No, I meet them in person, so I can take photographs and do the interview.
Okay.
But yeah, it's all in person now.
So how did you get more comfortable with it?
By doing it, and by putting myself in like uncomfortable situations, and like just
people are probably pretty nice. Right?
Yeah, and people are so nice. And I've realized that like connecting with people and talking to people is one of my favorite parts. And I've met so many amazing people.
Did you think that was going to be the case?
No, I didn't. I wasn't sure. I mean, I've always like loved talking to people, but I wasn't sure. Yeah.
Well, good for you. And then teaching yourself about the website and how to program and upload. I mean, now it's pretty easy with some of the tools, but still.
Yeah, that definitely took a long time. I just kind of had to like redo, keep going. But yeah.
Okay. So we've got about 5 more minutes.
Okay,
so my first question is, where do you hope to take this?
Yeah, so I'm going to college in the fall, which kind of sets an unknown as to how much time I'll have.
Yeah.
But I really do hope to continue it as long as I can because I love doing it. So maybe after college I'll continue, or maybe through college, depending on my timing. But for now, I'm just working on it one step at a time and hoping to produce a few issues this spring.
Yeah. So now, do you know where you're going to college at?
I don't. I'm waiting to hear back.
Okay. Do you know what you want to study?
Yes. I want to study photojournalism and environmental studies.
Okay. So really, this is the direction of your career.
Yeah.
Now, whether this e-zine stays or stays as is, or you evolve it into something else.
Yeah.
But you're getting yourself launched here.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow. Yeah. That's exciting. So so photojournalism, environmentalism. So you actually applied to schools in those areas?
Yeah. The schools I applied to both have very strong programs in both of those, which was important to me.
So what's been the benefit of doing your gap year?
Yeah, so I've had a lot of time to kind of work on this. I have a full-time job at a vegan cafe, which I've really loved. I've learned a lot from. And it's just kind of helped me take a step back from like learning so much. And obviously I'm still learning through like Sage, but take a step back to kind of pursue my passions. Yeah.
Good for you.
Thank you.
So what have you learned at the cafe?
Just a lot about like customer service, how running a cafe works,
Right.
and a lot about like vegan food and like the kind of philosophy behind eating vegan and stuff like that.
And are you vegan?
Not 100%, but like almost there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But you're working there.
Yeah.
You weren't vegan going into it.
No, I was vegetarian.
But that's a little closer than if you were like eating red meat.
Yeah, and
So-
I do it for environmental reasons. So all the animal products that I do eat generally are like local and from like local farms. So yeah.
Wow. So what advice would you give somebody who wanted to pursue their passion?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just putting yourself out there and it's hard. I mean, it takes courage, but I think just putting yourself out there and just starting. Like, I didn't know anything about creating a magazine, and I just started on it, and I've learned a lot.
Were you, I mean, you make it sound so easy. Were you scared at all?
Yes,
Or did you
of
make
course.
mistakes?
Yes.
I mean, tell people about that.
Yeah,
because-
no, 100%.
So like you were scared, you made mistakes, but you still kind of did it anyway. So
Yeah.
just share a little bit about that.
Yeah, and it's taken a year to produce one issue, and it's been like a lot. There's a lot of challenges, and it's taken a lot of time. So that's definitely challenging.
But what kept you going with it?
I love it. I love taking photographs. I really do love the whole process. And so I think that's what motivates me, and yeah.
Okay, so what advice do you have? Any more advice in terms of either if somebody wanted to pursue their passion or starting up something that they've never done before?
Yeah, I think researching, meeting people, that was one of the biggest things, is finding connections and like finding a community. That's talking to people that are like in the field and professionals has really helped me, and I think that's like a really big step to take.
So, I mean, you were able to do this when you were in high school and then just graduating. So what if somebody was not that outgoing? How would they like know where to start?
I don't know. I mean, open your laptop and maybe start Googling it, or just look into it. Meet people that are maybe in that general community.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if somebody was interested in just talking to you in terms of how you started Sage, or if they were interested in just reading Sage, how would they contact you or visit the site?
Yeah, so my website is sagemagazine.co, and the email is officialsagemagazine@gmail.com. Either way, you can contact me pretty
Do you want to
easily.
say those one more time?
Yeah, so it's sagemagazine.co and officialsagemagazine@gmail.com.
Now, why did you pick a .co?
It was the only one that was available.
That was available?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Bella, I wish you all the best in
Thank
the
you
world
so much.
with the magazine and also with college.
Thank
Getting
you.
into college. I mean, that's a big deal.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks for
it.
coming on the show.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm Susan Shaner. Until next time, thank you for joining us with Community Forum.